Lifestyle Pirates with Big J and Adriano.
All right, so we're going to do a rolling start now, John. You're on. And we're coming up to the line. Shoot.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this week's Lifestyle Pirates with me, Big J, and him, Adriano.
G'day, mate.
We are gathering here today. We're not. We are joined here.
I thought you were going to say blessed. I'm thinking, come on,
We are blessed
seriously.
today.
My second name is Sermon. You can be blessed.
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
why I just talk a lot. Mate,
Fucking hell, mate.
We're joined here by Josh Buchan, race car driver and soon to be living legend because he's here on Lifestyle Pirates this morning.
That's right.
It's only up from here.
Yeah.
Good morning, Squire. How are you?
Yes, very good. Thank you, gents.
Thanks for coming in.
No, thank you. Amazing setup here. It's very, very professional. Headphones and everything. So
Yeah, don't be fooled, mate.
yeah. You've got me so far. So no, thanks for having me.
Mate, you're very, very welcome. First things first, did you pass your driving test first time?
I passed the actual driving test. I failed the learner, like the computer thing, which sums me up. Like as soon as you go pen, paper, and tasks, I'm expletive useless.
What'd you fail on in for that?
Oh, I got stitched up because
Here we go.
yeah.
Typical racing car driver
Race driver
already.
excuses, yeah. It was a stupid question, like if a car doesn't have seat belts in the back, like if it's a 50s Chev or something, are you allowed to, like, how do you sit in the car? And I don't know. I'm not driving a 50 Chev, mate. I'm driving a Commodore, So,
Mate, where did you do your test? That was not on the test when I did it.
honestly, I'm still filthy over it. So,
You
failed
hide it
that.
very well.
Yeah, clearly.
Failed that. That's why I get my renewal the day after my birthday.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But the actual driving test, I convinced my driving instructor I was a race driver.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to him about getting exemptions to drive turbos and all sorts of stuff while I'm doing the actual test. And he's
Time
like,
and place, mate.
yeah. But so I just tricked him into thinking I was half all right.
Yeah.
So did pass the driving test.
Hang on a minute. So you were already racing cars and you hadn't got your driver's license?
I was racing go-karts,
Go-karts.
but I didn't let the truth get in the way of a good story for the instructor.
of
So
course.
yeah. No, it was good. So,
Can you have your super license without having your road license?
Max Verstappen in Australia wouldn't have been able to drive on his own on the road when he got into Formula One. So
Really?
I don't think so. Yeah, I think he was 17 or something. So he would have just gotten his 120 hours.
Yeah.
And then he goes and can race Formula One. So
Mega.
I mean, but the rules here in Australia are
Bit different.
a bit different. Yeah.
I remember my driving test, I had to do it in a manual
Yeah.
and you had to find the biting point of the clutch. And I also had to reverse round a corner downhill. And I was trying to find the biting point reversing around the corner downhill, which is
That was part of the
exactly.
test.
It's kind of counterintuitive,
Yeah.
really. And I was like, shouldn't be doing this. But
So,
I passed
so that
first
was
time.
part of the test?
That was passed.
I
Yeah.
had to do a lane
That was
change.
last week.
Yeah, that was last week. Yeah. The old Piedmont driving test. I mean, like out here, you can basically rock up with your eye. Like I forged most of the hours I did on my L's. I think I drove about 4 hours.
I think everyone did, eh?
Yeah. And I wrote in 116 of them. So, but luckily
Sorry,
I
mate,
had.
no one will know because we're not recording.
No. Well, that big red button's to record, isn't it? Or are we on? So I forged a heap of hours and then just rocked up and did it. And I think I actually drove to Tasmania 2 weeks after I got my Ps for a go-kart race.
Wow.
So, 90 Ks an hour the whole way there. And
Yeah. Well, you did your 120 hours then.
I basically did do my 120 hours. It felt like 120
Yeah.
bloody hours, that's
Yeah,
for
big
sure.
time.
Yeah.
So when did you start doing the whole go-karting thing?
I was 15.
Yep.
So the story starts earlier than that, though, because I first went to a go-kart event in 2009.
You mean Mario Kart? Isn't that when Mario Kart came out?
Yeah, on 64. And I was always a big Mario fan. Love the mushroom and banana throws.
Me too.
Yeah.
And in Mario.
Yeah, that's right. So it started in 2009 when I was, how old was I, 13 or something like that. And basically I thought, shit, I want to do this. This looks epic. I said to my dad, hey, can we do this? He goes, yeah, no worries. Sounds great. Went to a go-kart shop and they said, oh, yep, here's a cart, $5,000. Then you need a trailer. That's another $3,000. Then you need the spares. Here's another couple of thousand. And at 13, you don't have a concept of money. That sounds like a big number, but a PlayStation may as well be $1 million.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, yeah, cool. When can we do it? And Dad says, yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll go home and think. Left and didn't go back. And I sort of realised then I'm going to have to do something about this because I was pretty determined to do it because my old man sold cars and always had quick stuff, Skylines, which I'm sure you're going to not let me go without talking about. But
it's on here.
I knew it would be. So grew up around fast cars, just enjoyed going quick. So I actually started working with my uncle as a little slave labourer Tyler on weekends. I stopped going out with my friends and saved up enough money to go racing 2 years down the track when I was sort of about 15, and that's where it started and went from there. So
Awesome.
long journey.
How did you go back into the same shop and get the stuff?
I actually did, ironically enough. Yeah, they changed location, but now I think of it, it was called Parramatta Kart Warehouse, and it was the same place. The guy didn't recognise me, just a young jerk, thinking he was half
I knew
all right.
you'd be back.
Yeah. We've been waiting. Heavy breathing. Blonde-haired kid, irresistible. But so it was the same joint. Yeah.
Awesome. Love that. And so when did the kind of go-karting, did you just kind of have a bit of fun with it or did you join a league? How does one get into it?
Yeah, I didn't. It's a good question because there is no real good info unless you sound silly. There's no good info unless you find the good info, but it's hard to find.
Yeah.
So I had zero idea what I was doing, but you go to one of these places and usually the guys who own the shop do their own sort of racing or go racing at a high level. So they just assume everyone wants to do that. Whereas I didn't have 2 cents to rub together. I just wanted to go around and drive. So, you join a club, you go to their club races. There's all sorts of different clubs around the state and the country. As long as you're a member of one of them, you can do any of the races. And that's basically what I did. I was a member of the North Shore Kart Club, which is Eastern Creek as we know it. But Lithgow has a club, Newcastle has a club, Wollongong. So there's a good metro area of sort of 5 or 6 different tracks that I would go to and compete at in the early years.
And did it tick all the boxes for you? Did it live up to what
mate.
you wanted? Was the tiling worth it?
Honestly, I still remember the first laps I did, 10 years ago. And it just blew my mind. I got in. And the first session I was due to do, you had to bump start them. So you lift the arse of the cart, drop it on the ground, and it kicks over. You turn the engine over with your hands, basically.
Are you in it?
Yeah.
So someone's lifting it when
someone's
you're in it?
lifting you up, yeah.
Imagine if me and you were sitting in it. Come on, buddy, put your back into it.
All about technique, baby.
That's why I'm
all
not
about
in it.
technique. Lucky I weigh 2 bits of all. So, so it started and then the cart died on my first ever go. I got about 10 metres. So then we tried again the next session. And I remember coming in and the biggest thing I remember thinking was I wasn't scared of it. And it sounds silly because I remember watching these guys 3 years prior thinking, holy shit, they're going fast. Like I can't do that. I thought I could drive and I didn't have any basis to think I could drive, but I thought I could. Your typical ego taking over. But I remember coming in thinking, I'm not scared of it. How good is this? And then the first day was done and that was it. The rest, for the next 5 years, I spent every dollar that I could find, both in my mum's handbag and dad's wallet and
down the sofa.
Yeah,
under
down the
floor
sofa,
mats.
all that sort of stuff, honestly. Every cent I had on racing. So definitely ticked boxes for me.
So what, do you remember what your position was for your first race?
I do, yep. So the first race honestly was really big for me because I hit the ground running. I really wanted to be good off the bat and make a statement because you only get one first impression. And that actually sort of carried me through my career and into now. Like the first time you do something, you really want to hit it out of the park. And my first race, I went from 15th to 3rd
Wow.
in whatever it was, 10 laps or something like that. And I remember coming in.
That's a lot of overtakes, man.
I think I smacked into all of them though. So it was literally like, oh, okay, here's the start. They're all slowing down, pull hard right, and just poleaxe 5 or 6 blokes. So I didn't make many friends on the track, but off the track I came in and I had a group of like 10 people surround me going, oh, wow, was that your first race? Because you wear a P plate, you look like a knob.
Yeah.
Had a big motorbike helmet. Everyone's got their pro gear and all this stuff. And I had a bit of a crowd around the cart who were pretty amazed that I don't know whether it was how fast I was going or that I smacked into everyone or that I finished where I finished. But yeah, the first race was a real springboard because I finished third. I overtook 12 karts. So it was a big deal, yeah.
How hard is it to get noticed at karting?
Very.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very. It's easy to get noticed, but it's hard to get noticed for the right reasons.
Yeah.
So,
Not as much, yeah.
Yeah. So particularly when I started being, 14, 15, all the guns have already been spotted by that stage because they're starting at 8 years old, 9 years old. So they've done 5 or 6 years of racing. So when I started, I look similar to what I look now. I'm as tall as I was going to be. I'm sort of weigh the same as what I did then. So no one's looking at those classes for someone who's any good or can progress. So yeah, it is difficult. And that's why, again, back to my point, I knew there's no 12-month period of building up to it, which is what most people do. It's hit the ground running.
So what was the next step after karting? Or actually, when did someone tap you on the shoulder then?
After that first race.
Oh, literally?
Yeah.
Literally. So you didn't, so there wasn't that much of a bedding in terms of the karting?
No. Honestly, so the pressure I got put on me straight away was pretty big. So,
did you put that on you? Or?
I've always got a fear of failure. Yeah.
Okay.
And so after that first event, well, that very first heat. So the first heat, I still had 3 races to go in that day. The first heat, I had someone pull me aside and say, "Hey, here's this guy. He's 4 times Australian champion. He thought you did pretty well." I've gone, "Oh shit, how good's this?" And he actually became my best mate over the next couple of years, helping me through the ranks. But he basically took me under his wing and said, "Look, whatever help I can give you, I can't give you money. Whatever help I can give you, I'll do my best." And from there, it was just I had eyes on me because this guy who was one of the best was, oh, hey, this is the next guy. And yeah, I had that pressure on me from the start.
So hang on a minute. So day 1, race 1, you knock it out of the park.
Hard to get noticed, by the way.
Yeah. So then people were starting to realise who Josh is.
Yeah.
After your first race, a 4-time world champion karter's talking to you saying, "I want to help you," and it's not going to be.
I thought I was king shit. That was it.
Well, to be honest, you could be forgiven if your ego, Top Gun quote, if your ego's writing checks your body can't cash. But you'd be forgiven for that. And then you got three more races.
I was
to go.
inverted, so, to cue the Top Gun. But look, and I did. Looking back, objectively now, I did. I grew ahead straight away. I thought, I've got this covered. I just F1 contracts will start rolling in and all sorts of stuff.
Does that help? I mean, to your point around very hard to get noticed, does it help to walk in with a bit of a strut, bit of an ego?
I don't think I didn't have an ego or anything like that or a strut because I was just genuinely amazed I was there.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't that weekend, it was the 3 years prior getting there. So I was just genuine and still am.
Yeah.
If I did that one race and that was it, I would still be wrapped with how things have gone. So to just be noticed as fast at that stage, that was box tick. I just wanted, my peers to think, oh, he's good. That's all I ever wanted. So for that to happen, that was a big box tick. But from there, it was just, try and, I went through the ups and the downs in terms of my own psyche. And controlling that emotion is probably one of my biggest strengths now, is not getting ahead of myself and controlling that idea of how good or bad you are.
So what made you want to become a racing car driver? Was there, everyone's sort of got a fan favorite or a driver that they love. Was it someone for you or was it just something that you wanted to do for yourself?
Look, growing up, it was, V8 Supercar and Mark Scaife, Craig Lowndes, all those guys. And I still love watching all the old rubbish that, they did in Supercar. So I guess you could say that. I didn't really follow Formula One until I was a bit older. So those early Supercar days were what got me hooked. And then my old man always was selling cars, bringing cool cars home, the latest HSVs or the Japanese imports. So for me, that's where it started. And I always just liked going fast. Didn't care about the racing, to be honest. It was just going fast.
Yeah.
And racing was a byproduct of going fast. And then I thought, I want to be known as fast.
Yeah.
So to be known, I got to then go and beat those guys.
Yeah.
So racing was purely a byproduct of wanting to go fast.
So who's your favorite driver?
Now, probably Lewis Hamilton, to be honest, just because he is perfect in basically every element of a race driver. So in terms of technical and ability, he just does everything better than everyone else. And anyone who disagrees is purely looking at it from a side that they don't like him.
I did listen to a podcast called Beyond the Grids with a guy I always pronounce his name wrong. Grosjean.
Oh, Grosjean.
Grosjean,
Yeah.
sorry. And he got asked the same question. He was, and he basically said the same thing about Lewis. He said the reality is he just makes less mistakes than everybody else.
Yeah.
He is
and
consistent.
he literally doesn't make them.
No.
And he might make one, and then that's when he doesn't come top.
He's got usually one mistake a year in him.
But when he does do that mistake, it seems like everything aligns for him.
Yeah.
Like in that race, was it Imola? No, was it Imola? No, I think it was Monza. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, he was racing and then he had a crash and he put it into reverse.
Imola, that's right.
Yeah, and then it's like Toto Wolff hit the red button and everything changed for the race.
Yeah.
Like George Russell smashed into
Bottas.
Yeah, Bottas, and just complete like two Mercedes cars made Hamilton win again. Well, not win again, come back to
He
second.
ran second, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah. So I think, to your point, I think he is a very clinical driver. But I also think he has an amazing amount of luck. But you make your own luck.
Well, that's exactly right. But you look at the whole Formula One grid, people don't understand. Like you say Bottas, for example, they're saying, oh, he's always 2/10 off Lewis or 3/10. He's shit. You're serious, right? Like possibly the greatest driver of all time. There's a guy 3/10 off him and he's rubbish.
Yeah, I know, right?
Really?
In Formula One.
In Formula One, all those guys, even the most rubbish drivers in history in F1 would still smack your mere mortals.
Yeah.
So, look, honestly, anyone who can circulate a car competently and quickly, it's bloody hard, and they don't get enough credit. Even Grosjean got ragged on for years in his F1 career. Goes to IndyCar and smacks them.
Yeah,
and he's a hero.
Got pole position, then ended up coming second.
Yeah. What a legend.
Yeah.
So they're all elite. They're all so good.
Yeah, I think you have to be next level to be able to drive at that sort of level. But on that, how much of it is who you know and money as well? So let's talk about Nikita Mazepin, right?
Yep. Has a spin.
Yeah, Mazepin. He's in Formula One at the moment, and so a lot of people, he's a major sponsor of Haas. He's got his livery all over it, and pretty much a Russian flag.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
He's making so many mistakes. I don't think he's going to be able to keep his super license for the whole season.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, won't it?
Do you think money plays a massive part in motorsport?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, look,
is it a taboo subject?
No, because it's so well known.
Yeah.
And my ignorance is what helped me through my karting years, because I
Blessings,
realized
yeah.
once I got in, you only make it if you got money. Awesome. I'll just enjoy what I've got. So, mate, I was racing guys in karting who were spending 150 grand a year doing the same thing I was, where I was spending 10,
Fuck, that mechanic. He knows how to charge.
Yeah, mate. Must have had a good PowerPoint,
The Prezzo.
Yeah, the Prezzo, So, yeah, it's huge. Even now, like TCR, the category I'm in now, it's a $200,000-$400,000 a year operation for a single car. So, yeah, money's everything in motorsport. And the talent is, a certain point. But you don't get there unless someone's putting the money forward. Even at stages in my career, someone has paid for me to do something.
Yeah.
So, and it is who you know as well, as you mentioned. I always had good help. But, yeah, for someone like Mazepin or like a Stroll, I don't know if you know, but Stroll's year before Formula One.
Dominated.
Well, he dominated, but he was testing a Formula One car at basically every permanent circuit after the Formula One event would be there with his own private Williams team.
Yeah.
So they were spending, I think the number, it's never going to be accurate, but it was like 80 million euros
Jesus.
the year before F1, just testing F1. So
just getting up to speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, he still got rolled in his first year by, who was his teammate? Was it Massa? Anyway, whoever his teammate was, but mate, it's a money game. But a lot of sport is.
Yeah, of course. So let's talk about TCR.
Yep.
Recently, you just won the latest one at City Motorsport Park.
Yep. Won the round.
Round of applause button.
Is there one?
I don't know which one it is.
There
I
is.
always get it wrong.
How good's that?
No, all right.
That's when I tell a joke.
Yeah.
How many years have we had
Oh,
this?
so
And
my
you still don't know
TCR
the
round
button?
win's a joke. Oh, even
You're
better.
insulting our guests.
I'm sorry, but I don't know what these buttons do.
That's probably the button for the round afterwards. The
I'm
next
not even
round.
driving an hour. So
Congratulations,
yeah,
buddy.
congratulations
Thank
on
you.
that win, by the way.
Thank you very much. Hey,
Hey,
there
we got
are.
it, nailed it. Thank
Got
you
him.
very much. So yeah, congratulations on that. Run us through what that weekend was like.
Amazing, yeah. It still hasn't really sunk in because everything happened so fast. And the first race was on the Saturday afternoon, and I knew I had 2 races the next day, so I can't really. Again, my head's grown in the past in the very early days, so I thought I can't let this get to me. I've got to just relax a bit and focus on the next day. So I actually didn't really celebrate at all, to be honest. I just was focused on the next day. I didn't want to get ahead of myself. But yeah, honestly, it was amazing. I came in, won the race and did the podium and all that sort of stuff, which was nice. And then walked back down to my garage, and where the car is, you've got the garage at Sydney Motorsport Park, then our transporter is 10 meters away from the garage. It took me an hour and a half to get from the base of the garage to the transporter. That's how intense, it was media on the left, it was journos on the right, it was family and friends. Oh, well done. And it was the team slapping 5, and it was, it took me an hour and a half, and I ran the last bit. I got to one point where I had a bit of a clear. I looked left and right and legged it. Not because I wanted to escape, but my suit started to dry up with sweat and stunk.
Yeah.
So I needed to get it off. Because otherwise I'm thinking, oh no, if tomorrow I'm going to get up and my suit's going to stink. It's going to anyway. So
Really, that's what you're thinking about.
that's
at that
exactly
stage.
what I was thinking of.
You mean you don't have a dry cleaner on site at these racetracks?
Well,
Fun-
we offer that.
Fun fact. And you should buy one of these for your lovely track guys. But we've got what's called a La Fresca dry cleaning unit, which basically you put your suit, all your sweaty stuff in, push a button, 50 minutes later it's brand new. So that's what I was racing to go and do. And it's on the front of our car, so big plug to the sponsor.
Love it. I love that.
So I'm not happy with the detail there of this TCR weekend. So you've passed the checkered flag.
Yeah.
You're doing your cool down now, right? So you've heard over, well, you've won the race. Tell me what emotions are running through you. You're tipping into turn 1, you're coming up to turn 2, you're like, fuck, I just won that.
Yeah.
Run me through it.
Well, the first thing I was thinking was the last lap. What am I going to do across the line?
Skids.
Handbrake.
Well, I thought that did, because we've got a wand in the car.
yeah.
So I thought, do I get on the wand? I'm like, no, I need these tires for tomorrow. So then coming around, I'm like, okay, where's the flash button? It's right next to the pit limiter. I don't want to do that.
Windscreen wipers, give it that. Jet wash everywhere.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know. I've got a big enough gap I can slow down, but I don't want to slow down too much. So that was my last lap, was just shitting bricks on what I'm going to do across the line. So I just slowed down and waved. I didn't really know what to do. But I went past it like 200 because I didn't want to slow down.
Yeah.
So and then
the time's still going. You don't want to lose the lap.
I'm like, hi, checkered flag. But it was just I couldn't really. Again, I didn't really know how to celebrate. I still don't know how to celebrate it.
Did you qualify pole?
I was second.
You were second?
Second, yeah.
And so the race, walk us, I guess, the part of the race you've obviously won, but when did you take first, or did you?
I was second by the first corner, spent 2 laps behind him, passed him at the first turn, and led the rest of the race, so 15 laps or whatever it was. And it probably wasn't only until the last 5 laps I started to get an idea that I had it. And the first one's really weird. The first race you win in a category is really strange, because you're thinking, okay, I'm getting closer. What's going to happen? Not like I'm going to win. What's going to cock up on the car?
Really?
Like, am I going to spear off here? Is something going to break? Am I going to get a light? Am I going to lock a wheel?
Yeah.
Are they going to catch me? That's all you're thinking until basically the last few turns. So it was just relief. That's all it really was. It's a really weird emotion. It was just, thank God for that. And the cool down lap, you're just thinking, how good's that? You know,
I bet.
yeah. There was no wild this and that. Like that's not really me nowadays anyway. Well, it never really was, but yeah, just relief. Honestly, that's all it was. Yeah.
Can you talk to and just not even on that race, but just your experience in that risk reward in going to overtake?
Yeah.
Because I think, you know, a lot of people would they would see a race and go, this is boring, there's no overtaking. But, you know, obviously you guys are sticking to the racing line, which is a clean part of the track. I can't imagine there's a lot of marbles of rubber that you'd have perhaps on a Formula One or a Le Mans series.
Yeah.
But what does it take to really kind of size up the opportunity, how long, and then actually just go? And then one would imagine once you've committed, like there's no, that you're in.
Yeah.
How does that, like, walk me through that? I've always been intrigued.
So it's a really gut feeling for me. I don't really like. I'll try and set someone up for a move that I think works, but to actually take you back a couple of years, one of my last ever go-kart races was in Tasmania. Not long after I got my license, that trip down to Tassie was for the go-kart race, and it was for the final ever state championship where interstate drivers could enter. So it was a huge deal in a big class. And I was running second at one point, and I was the fastest by a mile, and I didn't pass the guy for the lead. I got then run into and shuffled back to fifth or something like that. And everyone watching knew I should have won that race, and I was so filthy on myself because I should have won that race. And from that day, I said, that's it. I'm never not going for a move if it's on. And it was a little bit like that in the TCR race. I actually passed for the lead around the outside of the first turn. So it's about a 230K approach, and, you know, turned in front of the bloke and it worked. So the line I used actually was trophies or trees for the win. And it really was, because sometimes you just, you're driving along and you might think it's on here and you'll have a bit of a dip, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's just a gut feeling, you know. For someone who's good, if you're having a battle with them, you need to set them up over a period of laps. So at Sydney Motorsport Park, you know, if you're going to pass someone at turn 6, the move has to start out of the last turn of the lap previous. So you've got 7 corners. Effectively, you're trying to get someone to move based off your movements. So, otherwise, other scenarios, you see a gap and it's just there and you have to do it. But yeah, it is a bit of a process, but that's where your years of apprenticeship come into it.
Yeah. Do you have a bit of a personal kind of code of conduct on the track?
No.
Send it. That's it.
Yeah, get out of the way. There are plenty of spares in the trailer.
How's your head?
Oh, mate, it's thick enough, don't worry.
No, I mean, Channel 7 sat us down at the start of the year for TCR and basically said, boys, there are no rules.
Fuck yeah.
That took you straight back to go-karting days.
Mate, the first race was chaos. I think everyone destroyed at least a couple of grand worth of gear. And then the steward sat us down and said, look, boys, there are actually rules here.
Of course there are.
Yeah. But look, the category we're in, TCR, touring car racing, is it's a contact sport. You know, there's no two ways about it. So, you know, a bit of hip and shoulders, all right. Obviously, poleaxing someone's no good. But, look, you get touched up all the time in the car. You know, sometimes you don't even know it happened. I got hit at Bathurst from behind so good, I didn't even know I got hit. Yeah. You know, it's part of the game.
Yeah.
So
did you keep a bit of a mental list?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I still got to square the ledger with a few blokes out there.
The old cold trickle. Hey, buddy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. A good friend of mine, actually, Jordan Cox, he took me out of one of the races at Phillip Island earlier in the year. Not his fault. And then the next race, he parked it at Bathurst at the Chase and ruined my qualifying session. I had to start last, so I keep reminding him every time I see him.
Nice.
It's on.
So if you do have a shunt with a mate on the track.
Oh, it's so awkward.
Yeah?
Oh, it's no good.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine, Tony D'Alberto, so that we came together at Bathurst. He turned in on me, Tony, if you're watching. But anyway, I didn't see him that day, and the next day I was going to send him a message on Instagram saying, sorry, we came together and all the rest of that. And then I saw the footage. I'm like, wait, he turned in on me. And
was that when he was racing the 458?
No. This was in TCR.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then, the next day you sort of see each other from across the pits and you go, are we all good? Or, so, but luckily, as much as you put it on the line, I haven't had too much poor conduct
Yeah, cool.
throughout my years, let alone this year.
So back on TCR,
Yes.
what's that podium like?
It's good. You get out the car, you got your whole team there, and honestly, that's the best thing about our podium in TCR. There's no rostrum.
Yeah.
You just do it with your crew. And that was the first thing I did. They're trying to take photos of me with the trophy. I'm saying, hey, get my crew in here. Like it's such a team effort, as you know. You're on the tools yourself. You know how much effort you put into a car circulating, let alone winning an event. So it's really nice to be able to share it with your team there. I had my girlfriend there too, so I brought her over. And then you got the cameras in your face, and you're like, "Hey, I've seen you commentate sport for years. You're asking me questions now.
It must be amazing.
Yeah, man, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool."
So, focus when driving around the track, right? Have you ever been at some times where you've just like sort of drifted off? Your mind is,
Yeah.
How do you pull it back in? Do you realize like, oh fuck, I just completely like you overbraked or you understeered or
Yeah. The first thing I try and refer back to is my technique. I try and really focus on the technique of driving. So if I lose concentration, I go, okay, focus on just corner by corner. And then once you get back into that rhythm, depending on how quickly you might drop off again, you're starting to look for why is that happening and whatnot. But yeah, you get everyone who says, no, I'm fully focused the whole time, rubbish.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
No way. I've thought about what I want for dinner. I've thought about what I'm doing, later on,
Mid-track,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But
what am I fucking going to wear tonight, actually?
that's right. It's like back in the day, you pack your jeans before your boots. Look, it's such a concentration, like an adrenaline dump each time you're in the car, let alone event. Like after SMP the weekend, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Mate, the next 3-4 days after it, you're just on a different planet, like just recovering, building back your internal energy sources. It was just such a dump of, effort. It's crazy. Yeah.
How do you keep fit?
I do a lot of running.
Yeah.
I like doing exercise for the amount of time I'd be in the car with the same heart rate. So I'll try and run at the same heart rate for the same amount of time.
So what's your heart rate when you're racing?
At the start, it can be like 180, 190. Like
Fuck.
Yeah, because I've held the handbrake and the launch button, like shaking. With, like nerves.
And that's just ready. That's your adrenaline ready to go.
That's just ready to punch on.
Wow.
That's
But
awesome.
then as soon as you let go and you're actually driving, I'm not very good at much in life, but I think I'm all right at driving. It's the one thing I know. So as soon as you're going, it's all right. But yeah, that build up and that dump is just can't really.
So
equal
Ann
it.
Senna talks about tunnel vision, especially being on the Monaco GP. We're talking Monaco GPs this weekend, so let's give it a plug.
Yeah.
But when he's driving around Monaco, when he was driving around Monaco, he said he used to go into a tunnel vision state and then nothing, like everything was completely blocked out. So he's just hitting purples every time.
Yeah.
Is that have you reached that
No,
Zen state?
I don't think so. I've had scenarios where I thought that was it. Like that's everything I had. I actually did a race at Bathurst, and I was in second chasing the leader, and I was catching him by like 2 seconds a lap for the lead of a race. And that was a scenario where at the end of it, I thought that was every single thing. Like there's not a single tenth I left out there. Like the tires on the car, it was an open wheeler. The tires on the car, the writing of the make of the tire was rubbed off.
Oh wow, proper roll.
yeah, it was a proper dip for probably 4 or 5 laps. And that was one of those ones I don't really remember it. I just remember getting to the finish and like, oh, okay, that's it.
Is that the one you won in 2019?
That was 19. Yeah. That's right.
What makes Bathurst so special from a racetrack side of things? I mean, it's obviously quite the spectacle on the side of a mountain, but is it as tough as they say?
Yeah, it is. When you're in a quick car, it is.
Yeah.
You can drive around there. In the Formula Ford I won the event in 19. It was easy to go flat out from the cutting to Skyline. Well, it wasn't easy, but I was doing it easily enough. And then the run down the hill was the ballsy bit.
Sorry, you referenced Skyline then.
Yeah.
You're not talking about a car, are you?
No, not yet.
No,
Oh,
yeah.
John.
Well, I'm trying to help our viewers
Yeah, I
and
know,
listeners,
I know.
aka
Skyline
me
is-
as well.
God bless
Skyline
you.
is one of the highest points of Bathurst where you start the descent down the hill. So
Holy ground.
they call it Skyline because when you approach it, all you can see is the skyline of
Right.
Bathurst, I guess. You can't actually see the track until you've got a corner in front of you. So it's blind turn in anywhere from 180, 220, depending on what car you're in.
Far out.
It's bloody quick. Yeah.
Even
and
in
I-
a simulator, that scares the shit out of me. I can't
Yeah, I
imagine
know.
what it must be to do in real life.
Well, it's just commitment, and that's what makes Bathurst special. Is because at the end of a session, you look at the timesheets. Whoever's at the top just threw the balls over the shoulder the most,
Yeah.
and that's what You can go to other places.
That's two sayings I'm taking from you today.
That's one place where it is like, all right, there's not many cars that are just miles better around there.
Yeah.
Because there's such a difference you can make as a driver, and that's probably one of the only joints you can make a huge difference as a driver nowadays.
So
yeah.
on the fear factor side of things, you said you've got a fear of failure earlier on, but
Yeah.
do you? You mentioned you've got a girlfriend, you've a family and stuff. You've got obviously your team. Does the fear bit creep in a race?
Not while you're driving.
No.
The fear while driving is just not firing it into the wall and, making your boys have to fix the car. It's not of yourself. It's no self-preservation. That doesn't come into it.
Yeah.
Even like Eastern Creek, the first turn is 230, 40 approach, and it's a minimum of 215 in the middle. Like there's a wall 60 metres away. So if you have a moment, you're in the wall at huge speed. So Bathurst, if anything, you clip a wall and you just bounce around it until you slow down. So it's the same kind of thing. It's just the way the brain perceives danger. But no, not really. I mean, before, you think, oh shit, I'm going to get pretty close to the wall. Hope I don't crash and, whatever. But no, not at my age. I'm too young to worry about.
Yeah, cool. Because that was one of my biggest takeouts from the latest season of Drive to Survive when Grosjean had his accident.
Yeah.
And then they cut to all the racing, all the radios of all the other drivers. And there was this element of it just humanized everybody.
Immortality. Yeah.
Everybody realized how serious that was. And, and all the politics went out the window. Everybody was just had this moment of, far out.
We forget how dangerous driving a road car is, let alone a race car.
Yeah.
The human body isn't designed to crash at 50 k's an hour.
Yeah.
So from the team boss who runs our team out, he used to run the world or do the engines for the World Rally team in Germany for Hyundai. And he was saying that the crash structures in a rally car for sideways impacts aren't approved for over 60 k's an hour. So we're as a body, we're not designed to crash. So when someone goes in hard, bloody oath, you think, shit, that's big. I hope they're all right.
Yeah. On that, so I'm assuming you don't drive to and from the track. You get driven. Or do you drive back just with the red mist, especially if you've had a great race?
No.
How do you switch off?
I'm a cat on the road. I'm cruisy. Yeah. I'm in no rush. I've got my tunes, listening to podcasts.
I hear a lot about that from racing car drivers.
Yeah.
They let it all out on the track, and then on the road they're very...
So you're crazy on the road, are you?
No, I can't race. So.
Honestly, if I didn't race, and I pass this on all the time to younger guys, if I didn't race, I would be a statistic, 100%.
Yeah.
Like I'd be nuts on the road. And I went to school with plenty of guys who were. They'd rock up with their charades in the car park.
Ferrari.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 458 Pulsar, Triple S.
SR20.
Yeah, that's right. And you'd see them leave like the school car park at like 300 k's an hour.
Yeah.
And they'd always want to go, oh, you want to race? I'm like, no, mate, I don't want to race. I'm scared.
It's so dangerous on the road, isn't it?
It is,
there's
mate.
Telegraph poles, gutters, cats, people. Cars.
Yeah. Fine, I'm real good. It is, mate. It is. And the other thing as well, like it sounds bad, but it's true. The police, mate, like they're everywhere now. You can't do a single thing and not get pinned for it. So, I don't see any point of flogging a car on the road, particularly as I get my outlet on the track anyway.
You can't anyway.
Well, I also see from your social media, you get your outlet not only in your Hyundai, which you refer to as a beast, which I'm keen to.
Did I? The hectic Hyundai?
Yep.
Did I say that?
It's a beast.
Yeah, it is.
But you've driven a Ferrari SF90.
Yep.
You've driven one of my favourite cars, Mazda 767B, which was a Le Mans car, which won Le Mans a few times.
I actually only put the cameras on that car, unfortunately.
Oh, you didn't drive
I didn't drive it. No.
787.
It was the 767 that time. Yep. So 767 came out. Sorry, I don't want to break your heart.
No, that's all right.
He's just impressed that I got the numbers right.
Yeah, that's right. He was checking spelling errors. Yeah.
No, he can't read my writing. He's
Oh,
all
okay.
like that.
It's too cursive for us. We're block letters, us car guys.
But that must be pretty cool as well to drive just dream cars, race cars.
Yeah.
Outside of the TCR.
Honestly, 10-year-old me pinches myself every day.
Yeah.
Because my sort of path to racing has been very different. So I actually got into the driving events as an instructor, and doing those Ferrari, Hyundai days, well before I started doing some serious racing.
Yeah.
So that's why for me, all of this is a bonus. I never thought I'd be here as a driver who, drives in a category like I do. Because I focused on the work side of things. I wanted to go and, make some money rather than chip away every day trying to chase sponsors and whatnot. So, a bit of a fluke I made it to TCR. But
How's your balance with that now?
it's not too bad. It's tough. The TCR takes a lot of time, but
It would.
I'd happily give all my time to it.
And as a racing car driver coming up the field as well, I hear that it's not just about being a race car driver, because you mentioned, getting out, getting sponsors, and how much off the track work is done by a racing car driver, not just on the track.
Only reason I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of drivers will dedicate their life, to chasing the sponsor, doing the deal, trying to look for the next sticker on the car, so to speak.
We've got some Lifestyle Pirates tickets for you, Clarence.
Got some cash.
No, it's more cash.
We've got a few bucks.
It's $100,000 a letter, isn't it? So lucky your name's long. We're going to the top, boys. There's a lot to it. My first ever day as a driver coach in a car was at a place called The Farm in a Hyundai. And that's, ironically enough, where the Hyundai relationship started about 6 years ago to where it is now. So I haven't ever taken a proposal to them or anything like that. It's just the relationship with myself and the brand has organically grown to the point where they assisted me in getting into the race car. So to go to your point, that was all off track. That was no on-track result. Obviously, on track, you've got to do the business.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm here because of the off track.
And do you like that piece?
I do, because I don't. It doesn't come from the wrong place. 6 years ago, I never thought this would happen. So, we get along because we got along from the start.
Yeah.
So there was no TCR 6 years ago. There was no program 6 years ago. It was just a couple of guys from the office who we all got along with and slapped five, and that's where it started. And it's real. So I do enjoy that side of it because it's relationship, it's making new friends, because we're here for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah.
So I want to enjoy who I'm working with. I want to enjoy being around the people I'm around, whether it's for 5 minutes or for 5 years. So I do enjoy the off-track side of it. Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a massive lesson in that as well. One, just enjoying yourself, but two, I guess, balancing and trying to find that balance. And the relationship piece. We hear about that pretty much every week on this podcast. It's the community side of things and building a network and relationships and that and for the long term piece rather than the short term. So it's huge.
Yeah, if you're just trying to take something from someone, people can smell it a mile away. So anything you do, really treat everyone the way you want to be treated. There's a lot to be said for that. It's overused the term, but it's underutilized.
Yeah.
So being a racing car driver and always being on track, what sort of lessons have you learned about yourself and about life from behind the steering wheel? I know it's a big open question, but honestly, it's probably not so much from behind the wheel. It's probably just everything around it,
really. Like driving is my life. Like without it, there's not really much I'm into. You know, I like playing pool and snooker. That's about it. You know, so without driving, I have not nearly as many goals as what I do. So it keeps me on the straight and narrow. It keeps me, you know, away from doing dumb shit, basically. And it's, you know, there's only 8 to 10 events a year, so there's 8 to 10 weekends out of 52, but those other 40 weekends are building to those 10. So I'm constantly, there's not a 10 minutes that goes by I don't think of something to do with driving a race car, and there wouldn't be a minute go by I don't think of a car. So I got to fit a lot in that minute. So like each day, like if I don't think about my girlfriend, she'll get the shits. Yeah. So I got to think of her. I got to think of, I got to pay this. I got to eat some food. So but I'm constantly going through my mind.
So if you weren't a steerer, what would you be doing?
Oh, mate, I hate to think.
Yeah, really?
Oh,
Never
honestly.
thought of it.
No.
Come on.
No, I have. Honestly, in like year 10, 11 in school, I thought, well, I can't ever become a tradie. They got to wake up too early in the morning. That's no good.
It's a pain in the ass, mate.
Mate, and ironically, doing this driving gig, mate, you wake up earlier than everyone. I'm doing like some photography next week with a friend of mine who's the shooter, and we're up at like 5 a.m. to get, you know, sunrise photos. So I should have just become a plumber and earned sizzler money and, you know, being the gentleman driver who rocks up and just pays for his Porsche on the track. So, no, mate, I don't know. I really don't know. I've been so blessed to do the things I've done for the last couple of years and earn a living out of it. So, yeah, mate, I hate to think when it's all over.
Oh, mate, let's not even focus on that. You seem like you've got a very good head on your shoulders for someone of your age.
Was that written down to say? Like,
no, actually it wasn't. No.
0.3 actually.
I guess for me, I'm trying to work out like what the next steps are for you.
Yep.
So, you know, people get into Formula One quite early, but so you've gone a very similar path. Your karting, your Formula Fords, and things. You know, Formula One. I don't know if that's on your radar, but what are your next steps? Where would you like to be racing? Is it IndyCar, Le Mans, the endurance? Is it supercars? Like, where do you see an ideal next 20 years, maybe 15, 20 years?
So, good question. TCR stands for Touring Car Racing. That's what it stands for.
Yeah, we're the British Touring Car Championship in the UK.
Yeah, exactly. So, the category here is the car I race is the exact same car that they use in Asia, Europe, and for the World Championship. So, look, I just want to make sure I'm here at the end of the year. I've never done a season where I knew what I was doing the next race, let alone season. So I just want to get the year done, make sure I'm still there, and then make sure they like me and keep me next year. Yeah. But if everything went to plan, I'd love to do some events overseas in WTC, World Touring Car, European Touring Car. I'd love to see how far the TCR scene can take me because it's so big overseas. But at the same time, you know, just racing here in TCR in Australia is a huge tick. So if I can be in the field in 5 years and continue doing what I'm doing in the driving event scene, then honestly, I'd be wrapped. And to do some events overseas in the future when we open up, that'd be even better again. So, yeah.
You raise a good point there, which people might not be aware of. But are you basically kind of pitching for your seat every single year, or are these long-term contracts? Because most people have a job; they have 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Some people love it and they'll thrive and they'll carry on. Some people just turn up and pay the bills. That's just the nature of who we are. Are you pitching every year? How does it work? Or do you get a long-term contract?
Yeah, it is a bit like that, pitching yourself every year. The amount of times I've gone into December, January not knowing what I'm doing is remarkable. So the first ever team I drove cars with, a Formula Ford team called Listec Race Cars, that even them, who I still do stuff with now, every year it was like, so are we going again? Or because the deal with them was to pay, you know, tyres and entry, and then it sort of dwindled down to the point where they'd cover it. But they're always looking for someone to come in and pay to float the team for a year. So even with them from sort of 2017 to 2019, 2020, it was, am I going to be here next year? Is there going to be another race after this one? Even in karting, I didn't know if I'd have enough money to do the next race when I was 16, 17, 18. So I never knew what was going on the week after. So to be fair, that actually put me in good stead because I'm not looking down the road. I'm not worried about what happens in 6 months or 9 months. I'm worried about now. So that's a mindset thing that I've always carried. And yeah, there might be a bit of longevity to what I'm doing now. I'm not sure. Hopefully there is. I'm pretty sure I'll be going around next year if things go to plan, but I'm not looking that far ahead. I'm just worried about what's going on tomorrow when I go up to test the race car.
Mate, great space to be in.
Yeah, I think so. Because the amount of kids I've raced who are thinking about not this weekend, but 4 years down the track. Like I've got to go well here because this person's going to be watching and they might put me into a seat next year because they've got a driver who's finishing this year. And they're making this algorithm that just doesn't exist in their head and the cogs are just crashing into each other and not turning. Whereas I just rock, I don't care. I'm having fun. I'm here. They're not going to escort me out now. So I may as well enjoy the weekend and see what happens.
But I guess that enables you to enjoy the moment and give 110% to that moment rather than trying to, and that's a really good way of putting it, kind of form this algorithm of trying to plan the next 4 years and then not be present for those 3 races or 4 races over the weekend.
Yep, totally. And that's why, it was just relief to win that TCR event the other week that we were mentioning of, because they can't take that away. So if I'm not here at the next round for whatever reason, I've always done that. And that's why it was a relief. It wasn't, I've got the monkey on my back, I can go win 10 now.
Yeah.
It was purely, I've done it. And in 20 years, I'll always have done it.
Yeah.
So, I put very little pressure on myself.
Is that the track you know the most? Sydney Motorsport
SMP?
Park?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, but honestly, local knowledge doesn't really come into it at this level. Like you look down the field, we've got guys, if you're not familiar, Chaz Mostert, Bathurst 1000 winner.
Yeah, big time.
Factory BMW GT driver for years. You got a couple of supercar drivers who have won races, competed for 15 years as a pro. You got guys who are up and coming. We've got a 17-year-old in the field who's a gun. There's not a single person in the field who's not a pro. So every time we go to a track, you look in practice one, whether it's your first time there or your 10th time there, the quickest lap is like the second or third flying lap. So everyone's just on it because you don't have time to fuck around and figure out how to drive. Everyone's just on it. So local knowledge doesn't really come into it too much unless it's raining. Rain's the only time a bit of local knowledge helps.
Yeah, really? Why is that?
Because sometimes a track requires different lines to go quickly. In the wet, sometimes you go, instead of hitting an apex traditionally, you might run a car width wide because the rubber isn't laid into the ground and rubber's obviously slippery in the wet.
Yeah.
So, just simple things like that. If you know where the grip is per se, then you can gain an advantage for a couple of laps. But it's only a couple of laps because people will then figure it out. Again, back to what I was mentioning, the pros get there pretty quickly. So.
Yeah.
Do you have any pre-race rituals?
Not really. I'm a bit of a
Apart
weird...
from dry cleaning your outfit, of course.
Yeah, obviously La Fresca, great product. I am a bit weird in some superstitions. I need to have blue gloves and boots. But other than that, I'm pretty good.
Where's the blue come from?
Funny story. So my first year in karting, I had blue gloves and boots because they were the cheapest ones I could possibly get. They were the biggest Povo pack gloves you could ever find. Yeah. And I won I think it was my 5th or 6th event in karting. And then the next year I got given a pair of gloves. I'm not going to say sponsored because it wasn't sponsored. It was just dude had too much stock. Yeah. Gave me a pair of gloves. I didn't win a race the whole year. Not a final, so you win the event, a final. I didn't win a race the whole year until it started raining. And I thought, well, I don't want to ruin the good gloves. So I put the old shitters back on that had holes and all that. I went out and I won. And I thought,
blue gloves.
I know what's happened here. So I kept the blue gloves on for the rest of my go-kart days. And then, kept doing well.
A lot of racing car drivers are superstitious, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, mate. There's dudes who have to touch their toes and bend over and do, hip drops or whatever.
Yeah, John did that before the episode.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I saw the old hammy stretch.
Yeah. Do you have the same number in your car now than you do in the karts?
No, I'd love to. That was another thing I thought I was superstitious of, but I wasn't. I've had 13. I've probably won the most races using the number 13.
Wow.
Because that was the number for the team who I was driving for at the time. But no, I don't think I've had the same number for more than a couple of years. I used to run 12 in karting because Eton Centre had 12 for the longest amount of time of all numbers, and I liked that. That was cool. But yeah, mate, I've run heaps of different numbers. I'd like to stick to one, but they just keep.
What would that be?
I won Bathurst with number 5 in 2019, so I'd probably use 5 or 12. Yeah,
Seb.
Mansell.
Was mate Red 5?
There you
was
go, Red
Mansell.
5. Yeah, which is where Seb got it from. So, and Seb stole it from me, obviously.
Oh, no, well, naturally.
And he was there that weekend in Bathurst. So
He was one of the scouts.
he was one of the scouts. Yeah, that's right. He got dropped, and I didn't answer the call when Ferrari called. Anyway,
exactly.
what do you do, huh? What do you do?
Have you ever sneezed in a race? Just to go off on a massive tangent.
Yeah, I don't think so. I barely blink, mate, to be honest.
Eyes are just like.
I'm too wigging out, like, corner. No, I've never sneezed. But yeah, like you hear stories of guys vomiting,
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard
Mark
of that.
Webber did it. I know a dude fell asleep. Actually, Joseph Mawson, who just won the S5000 championship, like the new open wheeler class, the gold star. There's a story of him, I don't know how true it is, falling asleep in a go-kart at Lithgow one day and just spearing off the end of the straight. So there you go. There's an inside scoop.
Well,
Fell asleep.
and you might your paths might have crossed Renato on, didn't we?
Oh, yeah. Spreadsheet
and-
Liberto.
And he got the carbon monoxide poisoning.
Yeah.
He did, yeah. So I was working for Ren at the time. Back to the Mazda, that was the first driving event I did. I wasn't in the car, but it was with Renato.
Right.
As a volunteer, Ren, you tight ass.
Mate, he knows how to charge as well.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, can charge. But yeah, I was working for him at the time, and that knocked him for 6. That was no good. I think he got it again when he went to the Adelaide revival off the old F1 cars, just throwing out the old fumes. So
He seems to be quite an injury-prone person.
mate, honestly, I don't know. Like he got bitten under the eyelid by a spider, and then it happened again in the other eye a year later. Like seriously,
I don't want to know how that happens. That freaks me out just thinking about that.
seriously, yeah, mate. He's the most injury-prone guy you've ever met.
So speaking of Renato, I
Yeah.
watched recently his hot lap around Bathurst.
In the 458.
Can you critique that?
Yeah, get it up, didn't he? I think the video starts. He's behind someone at the end.
the
he's
McLaren.
like,
Yeah,
Van
yeah,
Gisbergen pulls away. I watched that with him not long ago, and I said, "What was all that about?" He goes, "Oh, we were on big fuel with old tires." And Ren's always got a story.
Yeah.
He's always got a story.
He goes, the other guy was doing, I think, a 203 or a 202 or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah. Van Gis was like, I
He
think.
set the lap record. He goes, yeah, that was a lap record that happened
Yeah,
in
that's
front of
right. Yeah. Mine was quick for race pace.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean, Ren for me is quite underrated as a driver.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff I've seen him do just on our days and how he gets
Not
it
even
done.
on the track, no.
No, not even on the track. Yeah, that's right. The old eyelid specialist.
Yeah.
He's a quality wheelman.
So do you know recently there's been an article saying most underrated drivers in Australia, you were on there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to mention that was
Yeah.
nice. I actually got the least amount of mention out of anyone. So if anything, aren't I the most underrated?
Yeah,
because they didn't even mention much
If there's
of
a
me.
competition of underrated on that page, you would be the one.
That's right. Yeah.
exactly.
Someone actually commented that. It was quite good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they said, I'd say Josh because you barely gave him a note.
Yeah.
They
That must
meant-
feel good, man.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. And back to my original point ages ago in karting, all I wanted to be sort of recognised for was being good at driving. So for I don't need to be paid heaps unless Hyundai's watching, then I need to be paid shitloads. I don't do it for any other reason than just, it's what I like to do. And if someone thinks I'm good at it, then that's even better again. So, but on that list, there were some quality guys like Brad Shields was the one who got the biggest rap, and he races TCR with me in a Hyundai as well. And he's one of the most naturally gifted guys I've ever seen in a car. Just technique to die for, commitment that you don't find anywhere else. And there's a heap of those hidden gems out there of drivers who are never going to make it or never get a chance. So it's nice, nice people are getting a bit of a light.
I wasn't on that list, so I'm even more underrated than you.
I tried to comment, but they got removed.
I mean, on that note, that's a really interesting point. Do you think that's a geographical challenge? Yeah, because I guess we've got a few kind of mutual friends that are there. Yeah, they're either in the music scene, so they then go over to Europe so they can get more bookings and just get more exposure. You know, I've got friends that are actors and actresses, and they move over to the US, to LA for exactly the same reason.
Yeah.
I mean, is that a trend that we might see of people like yourself that actually go over to Europe?
Australia is a tough place to make it in the driving world. Someone was telling me once, he goes, look how many guys are paid to drive in Australia. It's half a dozen, 10, 15 people. He goes, look how many are paid in Europe. There's hundreds. So, yeah, look, I mean, just as you said, geographically, economically, we're not large by any scale. So, yeah, there's more opportunity overseas. But, again, to get there is a money thing anyway.
Yeah.
So it always comes down to dollars and cents. Obviously, talent and who you know helps, but at some point it's going to come down to cha-ching.
Yeah.
It's good. We're seeing some Australian drivers coming up for F2 and F3 as well. So the future of Australians in Formula One looks pretty bright as well.
Yeah, I saw Oscar Piastri qualified third at Monaco, which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, he comes from a very wealthy family, but he's one of those rare ones who has the backing and can do the business. You know, I know a lot of guys who have spoken really highly of him. I don't know him personally. I remember him from karting. He was winning heaps of stuff. So he's been class act for a long time. And even Danny Rick, you know, Danny Rick came from a really wealthy background, but again, did the business. So there's so many guys who went over there who were good, who never made it. So if you get anywhere near that F2, F3, you're elite. Absolutely elite. Yeah.
So where would you like to race around?
I'd love to race the Nürburgring. I think everyone would say Nürburgring.
Spa,
yeah, that's another one.
What car? What would be your ideal mode of
Hyundai
transport?
i30N TCR, obviously.
Naturally.
Yeah, naturally. Look, the one car I haven't driven, big problem to have, I know, sound like a jerk, but I've never driven a GT car. So every time we do the days and they're going out in their challenge or GT3 cars, I haven't driven one of them. So I'd love to take one of them around one of those circuits.
Yeah. Have you driven one of them?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. You've done more miles than me.
Not well, but I've driven them.
He's a pro. We've done way more miles than
Very
me.
much am. Yeah. Well, we got some sessions coming up soon.
We could team up.
We can stick you in the seat because we need some driver coaching. Ren's coming along. We need someone that can fit in the seat these days.
Oh.
No, his back's really sore, and most drivers are.
I
really
missed
sore,
out the other day. Actually,
Yeah.
I couldn't do a day, and Ren messaged me, said you would have been in.
I know,
in.
right?
Yeah.
Oh my god, him. What's
Boston,
yeah.
John Boz. Yeah,
He's a lovely guy.
Boz is a legend. Yeah, he's like, you think I'm happy to be alive? He's pumped, mate.
Mate, I've never seen anyone smile so much. It was great.
He's the best. Yeah. He's got the pearly whites out.
Yeah.
So he's just this guy. Every time he sees, he goes legend.
Yeah, man. The track was wet that day.
Yeah, I probably would have said no. I get real scared in other people's cars.
Yeah, especially expensive ones.
Yeah,
all race cars are expensive, I suppose.
Yeah. But you know, when it's someone else's and they're like, oh, I'm driving after you and you're just doing 2 laps. Yeah, you don't want to screw it up.
Yeah,
for sure. So.
No, I still did good lap times, like 42s or something. When
Yeah,
it's a
right.
super wet day.
That's bloody quick.
Yeah.
I'd be doing like 52s or something.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, quality operator. Hard to come by.
Well, mate, I'm conscious of your time because this sounds like a weekend, a rare one where you can chill out and
Look how
spend
nice the
time with your
weather is
girlfriend.
too. Look
and
at that.
And it is lovely. So I'm going to ask my question.
Yep.
You got a table booked for 4 for
Table
dinner.
booked for 4.
Yeah, you're
Yep.
one of them. Who are the other 3 guests around the table and why?
I'd be you two and the missus, right?
Mate, you could
Wouldn't
definitely come back for another session. I'm going to start writing that check.
it? Yeah, there you go.
Get the stickers ready.
Table for 4. Wow. Look, it'd probably be just some brains trust from racing back in the day. You'd love a Senna, wouldn't you? My
goodness, yeah.
probably one of my favorite drivers. I didn't give him a plug. Would have been Alain Prost, purely because I'm a big fan of technique while driving, and he had the best technique. You know, like everyone will always tell you Senna was the fastest. Prost was the best. So I'd love to pick his brain, what he thought about. You'd love a Bernie Ecclestone who's just seen it all.
Yeah,
and, you
big
know,
time, eh?
yeah, like bags of cash taken to the bank in the 70s from, you know, Monaco. And you'd love someone like him. You'd have someone recent like a Lewis, or probably someone who wouldn't mind having a laugh like a Danny Rick. You'd have them there. God, another person.
I think that's it.
I
that
think you
it?
booked out the
Yeah.
whole
Have
restaurant.
I?
Well,
Okay.
especially if you got me and Adriano and your missus, mate. That's
That's right.
That's
I've
like a
gone-
private dining room.
I've got oversubscribed.
PDR, love it.
So who do I cancel first? Awkward call.
Adriano is busy. He's a busy man.
Yeah, that's
That's it,
right.
mate.
That's right.
Well, look, mate, thank you very much for taking the time this morning. One of my takes, you are very humble and clearly very gifted, and I will be wishing you the very, very best whenever I see you on a track. How do people reach out to you if they want to learn a bit more about yourself or sponsor? Like, how do people get involved?
Yeah,
TCR.
just Instagram, Facebook. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. All that stuff.
Yeah.
Just on Instagram, it's just my name other way around. So Buchan Josh, and then on Facebook, it's Josh Buchan TCR. If you want to look it up and stay
Awesome.
up to date and performance for any Hyundai stuff. And come along for the ride. They're always doing cool stuff with owners and potential owners and new models. We've got some cool cars coming out this year, so plenty going on.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks, boys.
Awesome.
Have a good
Easy.
one.
Legends.